about America and democracy. There is no America. There is no democracy. We no longer live in a world of nations and ideologies. The world is a college of corporations, inexorably determined by the immutable bylaws of business. The world is a business. And I have chosen you to preach this evangel.
For all my free market healthcare robbing, stock stealing, retirement fund fucking with niggas. Fuck you little credit card scamming, jewelry stealing, crack selling, liquor store robbing motherfuckers. Shout to the homies, Carnegie, OG, Willie Randolph Hearst, Baruch, Rockefeller, the real Rockefeller, my main bitch Leona, pour out a little Louis XIII, Scott Rothstein, Jack Abramoff, hold your head, my real top niggas, let's get this money. I spend my day peppering America overseas, pension for the workers, nigga please.
Welcome everybody to Voice Rebellion Radio. This is your host Chris J, and I got Beepus Schultz with me today.
What up, what up?
And we are continuing our debate from a couple weeks ago, which was communism versus fascism, and we've had a couple weeks to think of how we're gonna keep going with this show. And there's a couple things that I've thought of when it came to the difference between communism and fascism, and what is the superior ideology. Last time we were talking about, one of the main things we were talking about was degeneracy, and which ideology actually promotes said degeneracy. And here's the one thing that I've thought of in the since last week, and is that when it comes to the difference between fascism and communism, is that it seems like communism is still being used in different forms in the 21st century, and with much success in countries in such as China, where they're having much success to their economy. There's still communism is being used, I guess, in a more modern form in China, and in Vietnam, where they became very quickly a predominant power in Asia. But where's the ideological fascists of the world? They're extinct. They're like the dodo. They're gone, and nobody seems to even want to touch that anymore. At least claim openly they're fascist. There might be countries that might qualify as fascist that exist, but they won't. They don't say it loud and proud. That's for sure. Why do you think that is? It seems that maybe fascism is just a major failure, and everyone has wants to put that in the past.
Well, that is a good point, Chris. But I would say because the communists and the capitalists, they won the Great War, so they get to call the shots. And the fascists, they were against both capitalists and the communists. So, I don't know, when you lose a war, you lose your rights, basically.
Well, yeah, they lost the war, but
look how whenever there's any form of right-wing opposition, doesn't even have to be fascist. They just claim it's fascist to shut it down. They pull out the Holocaust card and look. Do you remember all the bad things? But communism has killed many people as well.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily true. That's kind of a very recent thing where
it's not real communism.
It's kind of a recent thing with the whole it's called bringing out the Holocaust every time someone says anything mildly conservative. And also, you guys like to talk about, I don't know how you guys make friends with regular conservatives that are pro-Zionist, which is like the majority of everyone that's not, an ideological fascist on the right.
We're not friends with them.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We see them as shows.
That's what. Well, yeah, a good portion. I mean, pretty much, the good portion of the Republican Party and Republicans in this country are pro-Zionist, including Trump himself, who was a major supporter of Zionism, and a lot of the right-wing parties in Europe are still supporters of Zionism. That's where I have my differences between them. And for example, a good example of this is Geert Wilders' party in the Netherlands, who claims to be a far-right party, but still supports Zionism. Another example of this would be the far-right in Britain, who are still pro-Zionist, despite claiming to be for their country. While, when it seems like the legitimate opposition to Zionism around the world nowadays seems to be coming more from leftist countries, not necessarily leftists in the West, the leftist countries that are not in the West. For example, a prime example of this would be China, who is actually, I remember they've taken away some security contracts that they had with Israel, and probably can put more pressure on Israel than any other country on the planet, just because of the fact that they have a lot of pull in the OPEC countries. I think that ultimately China might be the country that's going to be the one that does the Zionist in once and for all when they tell the OPEC countries, tell Israel to fuck off, because they ultimately now are going to soon be the primary customers of oil around the world. That means OPEC's going to cater to them and not cater to the United States anymore. So when it comes to legitimate opposition to the thing that you claim to that the fascists claim to be 100% against, they might be against this thing. But when it comes to successful opposition and actually successfully pressuring the Zionists, it seems that more of that came from communist and leftist leaders than it has came from any kind of far right around the world. There's definitely been more success with that.
It's a good statement there. Here,
anything?
No, I don't know what to say. Ask me another question. I'm sorry.
Okay, pass on that one. Okay, so another question about the fascism in general is that is that fascists seem to have different variants in what they claim to support when it comes to racial questions. For example, is that in one side of their mouths they'll claim that they support diversity, equality, and all that, all that good stuff, but they just don't want multiculturalism. On the other side of their mouth, they'll say that whites are the supreme race on the planet, and that that blacks have lower IQs. They're going to claim that that there should be segregation and all that good stuff. So it seems to be very double-sided when it comes to their talk on race issues.
Well, I mean, the same thing could be said about communism as well. Like, let's take a look at modern day communists now. They claim therefore the colored man, the black man, and they always claim that the brown man is poor. They come from third world countries. They don't know what to do. They always give this stereotype that they're lost and hopeless, and they need the white man to do something about it. Yeah, at the same time they tell you that the white man is evil and needs to give up all of his privileges because hundreds of years of colonialism and blah blah blah. Even though that's just the human race.
But that statement right there, if that's not necessarily true, I mean, there's a lot of communists that talk. In fact, I've seen a lot of people that have mentioned this about the white savior complex. Is that not all communists are in support of the white savior complex? And for example,
I know a lot aren't, but modern day ones here in America, for example, are. That's my point. It's not really. It's the same kind of mindset as you would say with white supremacists. And most of those are what we call counter shills. They're people who are thrown in by the government. Like, for example, Richard Spencer, big show of them all. Their entire purpose is to make them look bad, to make it look foolish. So when you try to promote the ideology itself, I could read you what it is. Do you want me to read you a little bit what it is?
To read what fascism is as itself?
Yeah.
And who's this defined by? Is it defined by Mussolini, Cordano? Well,
it would be Mussolini, the original founder of it.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see. Like all sound political conceptions, fascism is action, and it is thought. Action in which doctrine is immanent, and doctrine arising from a given system of historical forces to which it is inserted and working on them from within. One, it has therefore formed correlated to. God damn it. Fuck. Here, you want to read
it? Wait, where did you leave it off? The form correlated to contingencies of time and space, but it has also an ideal content, which makes it an expression, huh?
So we got this out. I fucked up.
Of truth in the higher region of the history of thought. There is no way of exercising a spiritual influence in the world as human will dominating the will of others unless one has a conception both of the transient and specific reality on which the action is to be exercised, and to the permanent and universal reality in which the transient dwells and has its being. To know men, one must know man, and to know man, one must be acquainted with reality and its laws. There can be no conception of the state which is not fundamentally a conception of life, philosophy, or intuition. Systems or ideas evolving within the framework of logic are concentrated in the vision of faith, but always at least potentially an organic conception of the world. Well, look, this is this whole thing right here about the, might sound, all good, but ultimately, it's like what you guys say communism is in reality, is that communism in practice has led to a lot of people being killed. But ultimately, here's the only difference, is that communism, I can think of successes, example, China, Vietnam, modern successes, previous successes, I would say. I would argue definitely Yugoslavia. I would argue Egypt, days of Nasser was an Arab communist country. Multiple different countries that have used it, and I would also argue Laos. I would argue Cuba, even multiple Latin American countries, multiple African countries, including the Congo, up to the point of Lumumba's assassination by the CIA. We use communism successfully. Unlike fascism, I can't think of a use of fascism, at least where they ideology could claim to be a fascist state by the government that actually worked out for the people of said country. I can just think about all the disasters, all the European states of World War II, where ultimately they lost World War II. Hitler's Germany, self-explanatory right there. Mussolini's Italy, which also they like to talk about how they don't like to impose themselves on others. Mussolini's Italy did a lot of imposing on themselves and kept a colonial mission in Italy. In North Africa.
Yeah, you wanted to restore the once was Roman Empire.
But those people, the thing is that was 2,000 years ago. It's like the same argument of the Zionists. That the Zionists have the claim to a land from 2,000 years ago. That they had made their own cultures. They had made their own traditions in North Africa. The Italians didn't have no right to keep on pushing into Libya. Sorry. And the Italians go into Libya, into Africa like they did, under Mussolini, and crush, if he was truly, for nationalism and keeping preserving everybody's culture diversity, he would be like, okay, Libya, you can have your own country, you stick to yourselves, we stick to ourselves, and we've actually, we actually look to help people that actually are Italian.
At the time,
Libyan people are not Italian.
At the time, wasn't it just a British colony, though?
It was an Italian colony, or talk about an Italian colony, but the thing was, those people were not, they was recently made Italian, and they're not really Italian people that they were charging. There's a difference between... No,
I'm talking about the country that they took over. For example, Ethiopia. Wasn't that like a colony of the British?
Oh, Ethiopia, I believe... Yeah, Ethiopia was an Italian... It was a British colony, I believe, before. But the thing is that, again, they would abandon all their imperialism in Africa if they truly believed in the idea of nationalism, because definitely Ethiopia had a very strong individual culture.
Over, they let the Ethiopians into their ranks. They didn't massacre the Ethiopians.
Yeah, but just because you don't massacre someone, if you're still oppressing them and you're not allowing them to determine their own will, it's still wrong. And then there was still a lot of people being killed, rebels and stuff like that in Africa, because they opposed the Italian reign on their country. So it's like if you fall in line and you obey. That could be said the same thing about American imperialism, which I've heard fascists support it and go against it. And to me, anyone that supports CIA coups, military United States imperialism, in anything like that is not an enemy of the state like they claim to be, but rather is a useful tool for the United States imperialist machine. And I don't really see too much of that, but it's kind of weird how the same people that claim to be against imperialism on the far right, like I see some people, still support German and Italian imperialism of World War II, when it was definitely, they didn't need to take all that North African land. There was no point of it.
Well, at the time, there was a war going on, Chris. They had to take it over for resources. World War II was a big resource war.
they'd take it over for resources. True, the resources were limited, but the thing is that they still were, imposing themselves on these countries. They could have made an alliance with these countries, and had that kind of nature of that's a different thing. It's not wrong to have a sphere of influence, but when your sphere of influence is constraining and oppressing third world nations, that's you're definitely in the wrong there. And that's why, and that's the odd thing also, is that they'll talk about how a lot of people on the right will talk about the Soviets did it and how the Americans did it, but they won't look in their own mirror and realize that they did it as well in World War II.
Listen, I'm not saying it's like the best thing ever, but during World War II, again, Ethiopia, you said, was a British colony, correct?
I believe. I mean, let me look that one up. I'll fact check that one on. Keep going, though.
Okay, so after World War I, after the Treaty of Versailles, a lot of countries got fucked over. Not just Germany, obviously. Spain, Italy, obviously, France, England. A lot of countries got fucked over financially. They lost a lot of territory. They were forced to shorten their armies, blah, blah, blah. So it was just kind of a reaction towards all that. It was just like a big fuck you. That's why they kind of did it. Even though Italy was on the Allied side of World War I, they got the short hand. They got the short hand of the stick. I think that's how you pronounce it. That saying goes.
Well, yeah, Italy. Yeah,
along with Japan and I think China.
Italy were the little bitch boys in World War One, so just like the Allies were like, hey, you know what? Here you go, you guys get your little tiny piece of the pie, but everybody else is going to get a much bigger piece of the pie. It's to them, but Italy. What they did wrong is that what they were stupid was that they didn't side with their longtime ally, because they were allied 30 years prior to World War I with Germany. They should have just stuck with Germany. And honestly, they probably could, if they would stuck with Germany, and if Germany kind of got betrayed by one of their biggest allies, and also Germany also got majorly, everybody teamed up against them in World War I. So it's just like they got really fucked over with the Treaty of Versailles. But actually, what we were wrong about, and I remember now, Ethiopia was an independent country when Italy came in.
Oh, okay, we were both wrong.
Yeah, and actually, their emperor Haile Selassie. Selassie is actually a major part of the Rastafarian religion. That they actually believe Selassie is actually. I did a show one time about Rastafarianism. Selassie is they believe, I think, was like the second coming of Jesus or something like that, because he was a major part in the struggle against European colonialism. So it's kind of weird how there's like a version of Christianity that incorporates like Jesus pretty much coming back, or they have him like a really holy figure in their religion. It's pretty wild. But yeah, it says right here, and I'm going to read exactly as I see it here. Independence of Ethiopia was interrupted by the Second Italo-Ethiopian War, beginning when it was invaded by fascist Italy in 1935, way before the war even started, before the Great War even started. During this time, Haile Selassie appealed to the League of Nations in 1935, delivering an address that made him a worldwide figure. As the majority Ethiopian population lived in rural towns, Italy faced continuing resistance and ambushes in urban centers throughout the occupation. Haile Selassie fled in exile in London, and Mussolini was able to proclaim the Empire of Ethiopia and the assumption of the imperial title by the Italian king Vittorio Emanuele III, recognized by countries belonging to the International Organization of the League of Nations. So there wasn't even the war yet. They didn't need the resources yet. I mean, maybe you could say they were preparing, but they definitely weren't in the war yet. And I think this is what actually happened here, is that the British later took it over. It says, following the entry of Italy into World War II, British Empire forces together with the Abragnak, it says patriots, referring to armed resistance soldiers, restored sovereignty of Ethiopia in the course of the East African campaign at 41. An Italian guerrilla campaign continued until 43. This was followed by British recognition of Ethiopia's full sovereignty without any special British privileges. So I was actually wrong. Here, not only did Italy invade, took it over, the British freedom, and didn't even take it for themselves. In the middle, and this was in 1944, they could have, easily claimed, hey, that was for the resources, that's why we took it. So it looked like it was a major fuck up by the Italians to do that. And and also later on, Selassie continued to rule the country later, and but he also ended slavery in the country. They actually had 2 to 4 million slaves at the time, and he ended it. And Selassie later joined a federation with Eritrea, which is currently its own country. But it says Selassie ruled all the way into the 70s. Actually, he's considered one of the greatest African leaders. I think just because of the fact of what he was able to do for Ethiopia in his time. That he struggled against both. Mainly because of he had his first struggle was against the original imperialists. I don't think that's the thing. I think it's just that the way he was able to keep them at bay. The imperialists, 1913, practically the entire continent was controlled by Europe, and he was there was only a couple exceptions, and I think there was also another couple countries that were independent. Germany made friends with them. I think Germany. I'm not sure if they were friends with Ethiopia. I think they were. I think they were partially friends with them or something like that. Just because I think partially because they were wanted to get some African allies against all the other European allies, British, French that were against Germany. Plus a lot of it's not really talked about in the textbooks, but a good portion of the war actually took part not just in Northern Africa. Let's talk about the first war in Central Africa. Actually, it was all World War I was literally all across the world practically. Besides the Americas, it was in Asia. It was in the Pacific Ocean. There was parts it was all deep into Africa, in Europe, in Russia. Really, if you get the Bolshevik War, you could really say it was the front of in a way, of the front of World War I, and also the Eastern Front as well. But going back to the original part is that it doesn't look. See, this is a prime example what I just mentioned here of fascists being imperialist. And and the same thing with Germany is that I could get the taking the Sudetenland land, I could see the taking of Austria, but when you start the taking of Poland, what about that? The Poland's from what I've read is that they actually orchestrated a false flag, said that Poland invaded. They didn't actually invaded. They said they attacked a radio station, and then they used that as an excuse to go into the war. That's 100% what something America would do nowadays. Kind of like 9/11 and going into Iraq and Afghanistan. What do you think of that?
Yeah, but what was Poland before World War One?
Poland before World War One? I actually don't know that one off the top of my head. But let's see. It was. Let's see. It was 2 different. Oh yeah, it was the Russians had part of it, and I think that it says here that the Germans had another part of it.
Yeah, I believe that part was Prussia.
Well, it's the Kingdom of Prussia.
Yeah,
that's the Germans.
That was once German territory for nearly, I think, 100 years.
So 1795, yeah.
So then all of a sudden, these people come and said, no, this is no longer your land. This belongs to these people.
Yeah, but they lost the war. That's what happens when you lose a war.
Yeah, and then they retook it. They reclaimed it. They reconquered it.
Actually, I just defeated myself in my own sentence right there. I was like, I know that's what happens when you lost the war. I was like, well, they kind of got fucked later, so kind of returned the favor, I guess you could say. But the thing is that those people, you could say the people of Poland, the people of all those different countries, though, they had their own culture. It wasn't like Germany was still occupied. Hold
on, and the Russians attacked the other side. They did it once in the 1920s, and then they attacked again, I don't know, when Germany attacked.
Well, they came in. They both met each other.
Yeah,
they met each other, and that's kind of
So there's the communists being imperialists.
Well, I'm not arguing the communists weren't imperialists, but I'm arguing that the fascists should own up to their own.
They are, and I agree. It's just human nature in general, though. Capitalists are imperialistic,
and also
communists are imperialistic. Imperialistic are imperialistic. It's just human nature.
And also about the communists being imperialistic. Was that same argument that you guys made about that used to be German land? They could have said about that used to be Russian land too. That was the Russian Empire. All that stuff was the Russian land.
Exactly. There it is.
And they lost a lot of it by a treaty they signed with the Germans in World War I. The Germans actually took a lot of Russia's territory with the Brest-Litovsk Treaty. that was the Bolsheviks actually that signed that bullshit treaty, which pretty much ceded over a lot of Russian land over to the Germans just to get out of the war. It was really, it was kind of I could see why they wanted to get out of the war so bad, but at the same time, they lost a lot of land to do so. It's kind of similar how the Germany was literally like right after that would lose a bunch of their land to the Treaty of Versailles. So it's kind of funny. It's like, hey, Germany, you have all this land. Oh, thanks. And it's like, we're done fighting? Yeah, cool. Literally like 3 months later. And it's like, oh, guess what, Germany? You lost the war. By the way, you're losing all that land. And even probably some of that same land that just got in that treaty like 3 months ago. Oh, 9.
Mm.
And then, Germany kind of went into despair for like the next 10 years, which is not funny at all, but, mentioning, what happened later, they kind of got fucked over pretty badly by Treaty of Versailles. But, was Treaty of Versailles, and this is a good question for you, they got fucked over, their money was super inflated, their society fell into a free fall, but did they really attack the right people? That a lot of people say that Nazi Germany was a reaction to Treaty of Versailles. But did they actually get their revenge? Did they actually, did the people that they actually were, going after, people that actually caused all that to happen? And I don't think so, because it's not like all the Jewish population, like they targeted, a large portion of the Jewish population was actually behind, the sanction in Germany. Maybe some Jewish bankers, but maybe not the entire Jewish population. So my point is that it seems like Germany just went after people arbitrarily, and also did they actually, put any of the big bankers in prison? No, doesn't seem like it. In fact, they had some pretty big bankers bankroll the Nazis. In fact, from what I've read, I think one of the Rockefellers even bankrolled you guys. Well, I shouldn't say you guys because you're not Nazi, but
technically the Nazi National Socialists are kind of different from the fascists. They are very similar.
But you guys are, it's like, the difference between communism and Nazism is like the difference between communism and Maoism. It's like you got to kind of own up to it.
Not really, because National Socialism is like the more racial side of fascism, while fascism is like civic.
Or I should say like communism, Stalinism. Then if you're able to get away with that cop out, then the communists don't have to take in all the things that Stalin did wrong, because Stalin, it was a much different thing than, what communism in many other countries was. That Stalinism was a very strictly, I guess you could say, in a weird way, a nationalist ideology that, heavily industrialized, kind of, and also kind of forgot about some of the basic tenets of communism. If you guys can just write off Hitler like that as not part of your movement, then communists can write off Stalin.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, but the thing with Hitler is like, as you said, about how they're very, like, super racially egotistic, that was their downfall. They would shit upon all their own allies, the National Socialists. Like, they didn't like the Italians. They despised the Italians. Mussolini and Hitler were not best friends. Like, Mussolini only sided with Hitler because Hitler was the richest.
This is a little caption of a little transcript between Mussolini and Hitler. As they, hey, Daddy Hitler, come save me.
Why is he gay? Why is he saying Daddy Hitler?
Because fascists are gay. They're all secretly gay. That's why Hitler genocided a bunch of people. He was in the closet and he was pissed off about it, and also pissed off about his ball that got blown off in the war. So, you're just pissed off at everything. That's why, I mean, you ever heard the story? That's where he got his hatred to the Jews, that he was like 16, he tried to do a Jewish girl, but he was gay, so his dick just flopped around, and she laughed at him, and then he, like, got really pissed off, and that was it.
Yeah, he got scared and cried.
Yeah, he started writing his, manifesto. He started writing Mein Kampf at that moment.
That's when the spark burned.
He started writing Mein Kampf, and he actually wrote the story at the beginning, but he erased it later because he realized it was going to make him look like a big fool. There's actually documented proof. 19 and I
heard they found it. Like they found it in his bunker. Like
they found his bunker.
The first.
They found his bunker. And you know what else they found in his bunker? They found They found a big 12-inch dildo that he inserted every night. He wrote in Mein Kampf. He also took that out. You have to really explore, find those lost sections of Mein Kampf.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what else happened? Goebbels Yeah, and Goebbels, he was good with his mouth, as Hitler said, in more than one way, not just his propaganda. Interesting.
So bad, you're gonna piss off so many people.
I'm gonna pissing off everybody like simultaneously. Like I'm gonna probably like pissing off like Nazis that are listening to this. Like any of you Nazis that are listening to this, probably like other communists. They're probably like, he's being homophobic. He's being. I'm like,
the communists are like, they're probably in a full blown seizure right about now.
Because I'm being like a so-called homophobe. Just realize it's just jokes. But
it's just a meme, everybody. Calm the heck down, alright? Zero Hoots Gang, fam.
We've got to put that in. We're going to have that like edited in later. We'll put like the guy saying Zero Hoots Gang.
We will.
Anyways, moving on to the next thing is that, you say that Hitler was so much different than, because of the racial aspect of fascism and whatnot. But Hitler's, who Hitler's like, the person they tried to style Germany after was Italy and Mussolini. So he definitely was an adherent to fascism 100%.
Well, yeah, I mean, he had a good aesthetic.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that the ideology, he definitely did follow through with a lot of the fascist ideology that was incorporated in Italy. Now, if you think that Italy and Germany were so different, I think you're a little bit mistaken by that. I mean, yeah, there might not have been the racial aspect in Italy, but they still had all the other things. A very strong militarism, the combination of church and state. Which who actually made who made the Vatican a thing, right? Actually made them their own country. You know who that happened under?
Who?
Mussolini. I bet you didn't know that one. Another thing is that that they're similar between Germany and Italy is that the fact that this idea of a renewed empire, the renewed Roman Empire in Italy, and Germany, the renewed Prussian Empire, pretty much in Germany. Another very similar thing is the cult of personality around Hitler and Mussolini. Both they had that super cult of personality, and it both resulted in very disastrous things for everybody, including the people that were involved. I mean, ultimately, look what happened to Mussolini. He got fucking hung in the square when he died. And Hitler, well, I don't know. I mean, depending on what version of the story you believe in, either everyone around him died and he escaped to Argentina in a submarine,
or he capped himself in the bunker.
Yeah, he capped himself in the bunker with all the people around him.
I think he capped himself in the bunker.
I actually don't, and that's the funny thing. Is like this ironic thing that you're like arguing for fascism. And usually, like a lot of fascists try to say, "Oh no, man, he was too smart. He got out of there." I don't think he died there. I think he's still living in Germany. He's working at a gas station.
He's working at a gas station.
Working at a gas station, selling youngster Slurpees. Putting little words of national socialism wisdom to the people that are coming in there. And it's like, oh yeah, here's your Slurpee, kids, and remember, Jews are bad. What? Oh, nothing, kids. 9. Go on. Go have a great day. Yeah, he whispers that like slowly. It's just like it's like, okay, that would be 1999 marks, or there should be Reichsmarks, as it was back in my day when I ruled the country. What? Oh, nothing. I'm just seeing my old man. Don't worry.
I am old man. I know many things.
Yeah. You know what? I would pay money. For a Kickstarter. Somebody that got out there and can make that a TV show.
Hitler?
No, not that. I was gonna say make an old Hitler TV show, like a show about like Hitler, like that's alive today or something like that today, and just like working like in a gas station or something.
There's actually a movie. I forgot the name of it, but Hitler somehow times travel like the last minute of World War II, and he comes into like our world. And he's like, he doesn't know what the fuck to think. He doesn't know where he's at.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that. I think I've heard of that movie.
Yeah, I forgot the name of it.
Let me see.
There's like a scene where he like shoots a dog or something, and it's really funny.
Let's see if I can find it. Look Who's Back.
Yeah, that's it.
In the 2015 German film. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how Hitler would react if he like walked into like modern America or something like that, and saw like what happened, or just any modern like Western everywhere in the Western world. He'd probably be like have a stroke. Like all of a sudden, imagine he sees like Antifa or whatever, and it's like, oh, what?
Well, you already saw Antifa. Antifa came around before then.
But modern Antifa, yeah. But back then, Antifa was actually a force to be reckoned with. Nowadays, you just see a bunch of like people with pink hair, screaming about patriarchy.
He'd probably point and laugh, like that one meme. You know the meme where it's like
Hitler laughing.
Hitler laughing at Stalin.
Wait, let's see. Let's see if I can find it. I just see the first.
That one.
Oh, yeah, that's a funny one where it's like, yeah, he's like Stalin's like looking at the modern leftist or whatever, and then Hitler's just like laughing from over there. Well, let's see. And this is but some of these people, I don't even know why they're laughing. I mean, they got two of these people are actually good, like Evo Morales and Maduro. They're actually pretty good leaders of their countries. I could see, yeah, laughing at that. That's a Soviet. That's Yuri Gagarin, but with a rainbow flag suit. And this guy looks to be some kind of like, he's got some Naruto hair. I don't know what that guy is. He looks just like, I think, your normal ANCOM guy. Pope Francis, yeah, definitely. I don't really laugh at him. I more just cringe at him. But I mean, this just seems. I mean, it's like, what's wrong with that? There's just two men kissing. What's the big deal about that?
Well, I mean, as you stated earlier that like the original communists, like they were against homosexuality. They were against.
Oh yeah, true. Remember, there was a stipulation that rule is that men weren't allowed to be gay, but women could be gay because that's hot.
Yeah, which is a weird concept, but it's weird how those I don't know how communists, I guess, they dropped that tradition or something, or they played a part. I don't know how to describe that.
Well, I know, another thing is like, I think, that's the weird thing is that, I'm 100% in support of gay rights and everything, but I think it's weird to think how communists have like changed from back then. Stalin, I think would throw you in the fucking gulag if you were, trying to push gay marriage or something in the country. Which, that's the thing is that now it's kind of weird. Also, the Soviet Union was like progressive on some things and like not progressive on other things. Like, for example, by putting quotation progressive, like I know they were like they legalized abortion like as soon as they became a country, which they also, and I think there was a couple other things that were kind of progressive on. I mean, of course, race relations. There was actually a number of, I think, like people that were of color that moved from different countries to Russia, and they found very good treatment over there. So, there was, when it came to race relations, and there was a couple of things that were progressive. Stalin wasn't really that progressive. I was saying Stalin was like pretty conservative, actually. Some of the other Soviet leaders were different. Like Lenin was actually pretty progressive, like what we consider like socially progressive nowadays. Then Khrushchev was kind of like that. Brezhnev, no. Brezhnev was pretty strict. But they were still, I would say they're both pretty progressive, like, in comparison to Stalin. Stalin was, like, a man of the law, kind of, It's like if you didn't toe the line, you got sent to the gulag. He was the sheriff, executioner, and the judge in Soviet Russia. But, again, like I said, Stalin is not representative of communists as a whole. And, I'm not going to...
Neither is Hitler.
And I won't say Hitler is representative of communists as a whole. But where is the good fascist that actually did... I just went full redneck right there for a moment. Like you never see like the Republicans, like the Tea Party people. They're like put like it's like let's say it's like communism is bad because Hitler, and like what? It's like, don't you know Hitler was a communist? Anybody? In fact, anybody that's not a Republican is a commie. 100%. Ain't that right?
Amen.
Amen, man.
Amen, brother.
Amen.
God bless America.
God bless America.
They try to take our Second Amendment, we're gonna shoot them.
They're gonna try to take our Second Amendment with. Those liberals gonna come over there with them dildos, and I'll tell you one thing, they're gonna get fucked by my M16. And I'll tell you.
I went to Nam.
They went to Nam. What poser? I went to Desert Storm. I went to Operation Iraqi Freedom. We freedomized. We freedomized the shit out of Saddam.
All I remember is Charlie screaming all around me.
You remember Charlie screaming all around you?
I remember. I remember Billy's legs blown off.
That
shoebox kid. He opened up the shoebox, his legs blown off.
That's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. You know, you gotta.
God bless the Second Amendment.
Exactly. But you know what? He might be disabled, but he can protect himself with that Second Amendment. Exactly.
God bless.
God bless. God bless.
Billy shot that child.
And this has been brought to you by
Second Amendment.
By Second Amendment. Been brought to you by barbecue sauce, A1 barbecue sauce. Put that shit on everything. And this has also been brought to you by this has been brought to you by Copenhagen dip. Doctor today told me that I got mouth cancer. This fucking Obamacare can't tell me I have fucking mouth cancer. They can take their common bullshit somewhere else, and I'll keep on chewing that Copenhagen. You know why?
Mouth cancer is a conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy, man. It's a conspiracy.
How about this conspiracy?
It's a conspiracy by the Democratic Party to make me not stop doing the things I love. You know, they also, I go around town.
My dog once.
That's nothing. That's nothing. One time, I fucked my dog with my sister.
Ooh, that's the good stuff, lad.
Oh yeah, that right there. That's.
I let my dog fuck me too.
Okay, that's getting a little bit weird, but you know what? It's a free country. I'm not gonna question it.
And the pig.
You're fucking homo. Can't do it anymore. That's it's just like the dog. It's like that's whatever. It's like and the pig. You fucking homo. You crossed the line. You know, you were supposed to eat pigs. That way, you know who fucks pigs? Muslims. That's why they don't eat them. They say it says right there in the Quran. It says they do not have sex with pigs because you want or do not eat pigs because you're supposed to have sex with them. Right there in the Quran. Right there, page 2. Right there it says next thing right there it says America sucks. Right there. That's why we got to stop them. That's why. And you know what else it says? It says in page 3, and this is really alarming. I read it one time myself. I went to jail for a little bit of a DUI. I read it right here. It says on page 3, it said NASCAR's bad. It says, do not race cars or Allah will smite you. I right there, I about had a stroke, and I've already had 3 this year. I can't have a 4th one. If I have a 4th one, then I will lose. I only got one working hand, and I need that one to jerk off when my sister's not around.
Dang. Nah, but...
I apologize all to the intellectuals and stuff that probably ever tuned in this and thought we were going to get like an intellectual debate. You're wrong. This is Voice of Rebellion, so we have a little bit of fun from time to time. And if you don't like that, you can go on the other side of the border fence.
Yeah, get out of here, homie.
You know what? And the thing is about going to the next thing is that I wanted to ask you this question because I don't know if I asked you on the first debate, but I wanted to hear your opinion on it. Is that why do a lot of you right-wing people seem to, even though that this guy was supported by Kissinger, Nixon, and was 100% a globalist, and also did not really, and ultimately in the end, did not make Chile better. Their economy got worse. They had they became victim to a police state. Why do a lot of right-wing people like to want to take credit for Pinochet? It's like I see a lot of people are like, oh, well, drop commies out of helicopters. Pinochet is the best, leader ever. And I see people actually making like legitimate defenses of Pinochet using like fake stats and stuff like that when Pinochet sucked. I mean, I don't know why anybody wants to claim like, and the funny thing is libertarians like to claim like ownership of him too. And it's like, hey, what? He wasn't even free market whatsoever. I mean, he just privatized everything and made shady deals with all these corporations and, and the government and the corporations, jerked each other off and made a bunch of money. That's, I don't know. It's like, what's your opinion on Pinochet?
I mean, I don't really have much of an opinion because, well, as you said, he wasn't really a fascist. He was just a nationalist capitalist.
But why do you think so many people online, so many fascists online like Pinochet?
I wouldn't say a lot of fascists like him. I would say more ANCAPs like him. Because every time I see those memes, I always see the yellow flag meme ball guy.
That is true. If that motherfucker's there, that there's a good sign that you got some guy with that there's an ANCAP there, which it's kind of funny, like being going to the place we do go to a lot of times and thinking it's like, a lot of these people actually subscribe to that Kool-Aid. They're actually on that ANCAP-ness. Some of those people, well, on the libertarian, that strong libertarian side, which, the thing about libertarians is I can respect some of the stuff that they talk about, but to me it's like libertarians are, they're just, the stuff that they say sometimes just doesn't make any sense. It's like, how does that correlate to the real world? It's like, the whole non-aggression principle and stuff like that. Hey, we'll just, it's like, I love their no borders, no borders, no boundaries, but if you go on my property, I'll fucking shoot you. I'm like...
Yeah, it makes no sense. Like, how can you believe in private property but not...
believe in nations? Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, yeah, I get it, we all can have a house and all, but we can't have a country? Why is that wrong? Well, I don't understand this concept that if we get rid of all the borders, we're all going to have one big united kumbaya.
I know, I got a... this is what happens when we get rid of all the borders, and I won't even say it on the show, just for me, between me and Beepus. This is what I'll end up looking like. What's funny? It was like I just earlier today I typed in El Goblino just to see like what would come up, and then I saw this. I'm like, oh, that's the name of the meme. I thought it was gonna come up. Oh, there he is! I actually came up.
There he is. I know.
Cruz. Nick, by the way, Nick, that's like my favorite nickname for that piece of shit, Nicholas Cruz. But also, we didn't talk about that. We're going to step away from our debate a little bit, here. Because I just wanted to point out on the show is that did anyone else catch the thing where Emma Gonzalez pretty much claimed that it's like you didn't know that kid. So he was a weirdo pretty much, and we bullied him, and then later you end up shooting up the school. Okay, so. Now you want to be like a superhero because you did very reprehensible actions that led to a lot of people dying?
Yeah, I mean, the kid, he had a shitty life, and then you have, like, that girl bullied him for, like, I think 3 years, I think it was.
Like since middle school.
Yeah, so, like...
And he's, like, 19 now.
Yeah, so, that's just a constant torment from that... I hope she wasn't bald the entire time, but that bald-headed thing... that shrieking, bald-headed woman thing, and then try to justify her own actions because he shot up the school when he just simply cracked.
Yeah, like, and you know what, it's like when you type her in, now she's literally, like, this person's tracked like a celebrity now, and it says, now you got people like New York Times, claiming her or whatnot. You know what I also read? David Hogg came out, this was actually the David Hogg tweet about Israel. He pretty much came out to be a Zionist. No big surprise there, but it's official now. Like, he was claimed out to be in support of Israel. He said something along the lines of, like, Israel's police handle stuff way better or something like that. Or, let's see if I can find that tweet that he said. It's no shock that that this guy, being a major push by, let's face it, is that the gun control agenda, who's it being pushed by? Some of the, this is an action by a political Zionist.
Who's that one Democrat bitch? Her name
Dianne Feinstein.
Yeah, I mean, she's been fighting this fight for like 20 years now, and then there's like a video clip of her saying that she wants to make sure all Americans are undefended or unarmed.
Well,
this is a long struggle, Chris. That all the pieces are slowly coming together now. Like, it's speeding up. Like, how many shootings have just happened within, like, the past 3 months?
I mean, how many shootings have happened? Well, we just had the YouTube shooting, which, no one really talked about. The fact that, because this one, it was like opposite of, like, the normal, like, narrative. Like, it's like, this was, like, vegan, Baha'i, immigrant.
Iranian girl or something, right?
Yeah, like... Which I bet, it's like they already took all our videos down from YouTube, so it's not really like too much like you can even see about this person. I forgot what even the name is. Let me see if I can catch the name. YouTube shooting. I know no one died or whatever, but still the fact that it was barely even mentioned.
It was like a Nazi something.
She was a Nazi. I know what you said, but it sounded like. Let's see. I mean, she is. Her name is Najafi Agdam.
Oh.
Which
She looks like a dude.
There was a meme or something that was like saying like this is David Hall like 20 years in the future after like going through transgender surgery and like being trained in a Thoreau's Mossad factory. I'm like, that's funny. Like legit, someone already made that meme. But she does look she's kind of odd looking. And they got actually, yeah, I think she's like an animal supporter. Like she had like weird videos with her, like like.
Yogi is a bear.
Dancing around with animals. Is this the ad or is this the actual video? I'm trying to. No, this is a fucking mortgage commercial. Never mind. Well, anyways,
why is Yogi the Bear doing mortgage? It's not what bears do in the woods. They don't do human adult things.
Well, Yogi the Bear, you know, they got mortgages. That means they got bear banks. That means there's
where they soil their honey.
We have a report of.
Oh wait, they're not. Let's see, they're just going. Oh, I was on to see what kind of videos she had. Like, what if she apparently deleted some of her content.
Agdam's brother, who did not want
to like 2 seconds of her talking.
And affiliate KGTV, that his sister used YouTube to advocate against animal cruelty, one of her passions.
Nice person, innocent person. She never hurt any creature.
The San Diego Union Tribune posted
those people on YouTube
from
place
2009 of Agdam protesting with PETA. Agdam's brother tells KGTV that his family reported her missing this weekend after she stopped answering her phone. They then located her car in a city near YouTube's headquarters.
She had a problem with...
No, it's more drink. No, that's clear.
It was only like 1 minute, but yeah.
And she might be releasing all the way from San Diego to that.
Local police did not immediately respond to CNN's request for comment. Authorities say Agdam opened fire on a group of YouTube employees that she did not know shortly before 1 p.m. Tuesday.
All of a sudden, we heard 2 sirens, and then we saw some people quickly running out of the building.
2 minutes after the first call, police arrived as employees fled the scene before locating Agdam's body and ushering the injured to safety.
So, yeah, it's kind of funny that that one didn't get too much attention, but it says here that. And it says that apparently she got demonetized her videos or something like that. So that's what caused it all to happen. I still find it just kind of weird.
Wasn't it because YouTube like demonetized?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. She just got demonetized or whatever by YouTube, which pissed her off, and yeah, she went on a little bit of a shooting spree.
She didn't kill anyone. She sucked.
We're not gonna go down this route. No, it didn't. I don't know. It's like.
But how? Okay, answer my question. How many shootings happened within like the last 3 months?
Quite a few.
Yeah, like don't you think that's kind of weird? How like from I don't know what was before Columbine? What was like the biggest shooting before Columbine?
Before Columbine, we talked about that was '99. I don't even know which one before.
Okay, well I guess my point is like. How they slowly they keep getting brought up in the media more and more.
I know, it's like every time there's man, what the hell was that?
Firecrackers.
Every time there's a mass shooting, the media's plastering us, telling us that we need gun control, we can't have more of this or whatever. And here's my response to that: we didn't stop Sam Hyde. He's doing all these. And he keeps getting away with it.
I don't know how he does it, dude. He's a madman.
Sam Hyde made it to RT. He made it to like one of the biggest like media networks around the world. Like they actually made a story about Sam Hyde.
No.
He actually made it to Russia Today. Let
me see this.
It's Meet Sam Hyde, the man behind the lone mass shooter meme. And they got the picture of him with holding the AK-47 on his backyard. And I'm just going to have to read the story because this is just funny. In the wake of recent mass shootings in the U.S., one man's image begins to circulate on social media time and time again as the alleged source of the latest violence. Despite the suspect's true identity being revealed repeatedly, Sam Hyde continues to be painted as the lone mass shooter thanks to bizarre, long-running trolling exercise dating back to 2015. Despite the number of times Sam Hyde has appeared as the shooter, the image continues to be shared in the aftermath of each new attack, with many unaware of the person whose image they're sharing has already been erroneously linked to countless shootings. And it says here that, going to the next thing, and it says, who is Sam Hyde behind the meme? And Hyde is an American comedian and is part of the sketch comedy group $1 Million Extreme. Hyde is probably best known for his 2013 TEDx talk parody in which he pretended to be a documentary filmmaker. Is that 2071 thing?
The patagram, the shift thing.
Yeah, paradigm shift.
Yeah, that's such a good one.
Yeah, I was thinking because I said the TEDx talk parody. I'm guessing it's that one. It says their group has conducted a number of trolling pranks, including one hoax in which $1 Million Extreme member Jan Rankowski spent 2 years making videos posing as Jace Connors, a man obsessed with threatening game developer Brianna Wu. $1 Million Extreme had a short-lived series on Adult Swim, a channel that airs on Cartoon Network. The show's content saw it labeled as alt-right. And then it says the origins of the meme. Says that it isn't clear how Hyde became a meme, but its popularity stems from the notorious message board the Chan, or as we know, 4chan, where the character appears to be both hated and admired by members of the community. An early explanation of the Hyde meme comes from an article on the now-defunct white supremacist site, The Daily Stormer, dating from October 2015, an archived article entitled Sam Hyde and the $1 Million Extreme Troll. The Oregon shooting refers to Hyde and his large base of followers on Twitter and their attempts to grab the attention of mainstream media for the purpose of a good laugh, and references Hyde being dubbed a shooter. The article goes on to say $1 Million Extreme's aim is showing how easily phony narratives are created by the mainstream media and accepted by the public. Hyde is featured in a number of Daily Stormer articles, including one urging readers to support him, buying his book, which the site says is basically the first alt-right book ever published. And what the fuck is this picture right here? Hyde has been touted as the shooter in a range of attacks dating back as far as 2015, including the Oregon shooting at Umpqua Community College, which was actually carried out by Chris Harper Mercer. Which, that is just that picture right there is just what the fuck, Sam Hyde? And it pretty much just keeps going on. It says different ones that's supposedly involved in a little list: Planned Parenthood Plank shooting November 2015, San Bernardino, and it's this tweet. San Bernardino shooter identified by Facebook pictures as Samuel Hyde. It keeps going on, and it says, San Bernardino was a white supremacist Trump supporter. Why am I not surprised? No, the police confirmed it was true. Sam Hyde is a famous ex-skinhead, and it says that, then he's even been in some European shootings. It was a European name. It says, that they gave him a more what was it? Let's see, it says Sam Heidelberg for he said that he supposed when the German shooting happened, back in 2016, the meme was there as well. I don't know. I guess that the whole I just found it funny that Sam Hyde, one of the most I guess you could say deepest memes from the internet, almost somehow ends up on RT, which it's pretty RT is the third biggest international news channel in America, believe it or not. I mean, I guess I don't really find the whole Sam Hyde meme to be funny. It gives me, it's a little bit, it's amusing, but I guess the circumstances surrounding it's kind of sad that this is what we live in now. Either way, that I don't know. Here's one question I got for you: is that, and I know that we stumbled off the debate, but do you think that a good portion of these shootings are actually real? Do you think there's a lot of these shootings might be fabricated stories by the government, kind of like what Steven Seagal suggested, the famous actor? Do you think that they are real and that the narratives they're just this is what we are living in, but they're pushing a gun control narrative? What do you think of the large quantity of shootings recently?
I think yeah, it's definitely it's definitely something that's being pushed, I would say, because let's take a look at David Hogg. He was at two horrible shootings at once. He was at the one that was in California, I forgot which one that was. I think it was the San Bernardino one, right?
I don't know.
Look up David Hall, California, or something. California shooting, and you'll see what I mean. But at the same time, yeah, it could just be a possibility that you got some people that are nuts, like that one chick, and just shoot up the place.
And let's see, this is like a comparison, is it? I don't know if this has been like this. This could be so easily photoshopped, but I guess they're putting like side by sides. The heck? David Hogg mugshot. This keeps getting better. It says arrested on 12/23/2016 for an alleged drug offense. You know, I got you. Does that look like him? Do you think that's the same guy? I mean, I know the audience can't see it, but I just want to see what you think.
I mean, when we edit this, we'll show it.
I don't know. I think it could be a different guy.
Yeah, I think so too. He looks a little older in that one, but
yeah, I know. He looks like he's. I mean, David Hogg does look kind of. He looks like he could be like legit, like 20-something, maybe. I mean, look at his face right there. Like, doesn't a little bit look like he could have been on some, crappy sitcom back in the 90s or something?
Yeah, he definitely looks like he's like 25.
Like, he doesn't really look like someone that's supposed to be a senior in high school.
Yeah.
He
looks like a college kid, but I don't know.
I'm kind of going by the, I don't know, just, it said his face, some features of his face kind of say that he's older. And then I guess also the haircut also kind of makes him look like, I don't know why he's got like the haircut like he's like I said, from a washed up, like he's a washed up sitcom star from the 90s, but
he's got a weird head.
That's because he's a reptilian. Dun dun dun.
See, is that the one where he's in California?
It says...
Look up the video of it. I want to see the video of it. Well, I guess it says YouTube removes it, but we'll see.
Probably, yeah. I'm sure it's way gone from YouTube, probably. Let's see. Wait, is this it? It says...
No, Fernando Beach.
Yeah, but this...
Now only on to it's a confrontation in a heated argument.
I think he's supposed to be like the eyewitness there. Yeah, there he is.
That when David says the lifeguard approached, and he started recording.
We clear? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. I'm not your parent.
No, you're not, so why don't you off?
I don't know you.
I don't
You've never been down here.
So apparently they're saying he was like an eyewitness of some kind of like competition between a lifeguard and a body surfer.
Just a couple of days has gone viral.
We felt threatened. We felt we're just worried.
And if you go back, or zoom back, that's his voice. That is him. And it says right here, published August 7th, 2017.
And he started recording.
And it says CBS.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. I'm not your parent.
And so let's pause.
I don't know you.
And just to make this clear, this is like, this looks to be 100%. This looks to be 100% real, and this is from August 7th of last year, 2017, way before the shooting. He just happened to be on the thing that was on the news, and that's 100% him.
Yeah,
that's David Hogg right there. And just look at some of these comments. The comments says a lot right here. It's like this kid sure likes to get on the news a whole lot. Same kid, what? Lads, what triple parentheses is going on here? What was he doing here in L.A.? Something's making me really think. Oh, someone once told me that the news is fake. Yeah, let's see. And yeah, like everybody's like questioning, like, wow, it looks just like the crisis actor from Florida that flubbed his line/role. And yeah, so this is the exact same guy, and just happened to have been there.
Yeah, I thought it was a shooting. I guess not. I guess I was wrong on that one.
But still, just happened to have been on the news just a few months ago for something entirely different. Like this is, yeah, this is a.
You can find another one.
This is in California. Let's see if I can find another. And this is on Redondo Beach in California. So this is not even in Florida. It's not like it was in Florida. Just happened. Just happened to have been there last summer. And let's see.
Well, maybe he was there for summer break. That could be a possibility.
It just seems like, the odds. We're playing an odds game. That seems to be low odds. They just happened to have been there last summer, all the way over on the other side of the country, got on the news, then gets on the news again, over here all the time, Yeah, I mean, yeah, true. It could be summer break. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And let's see. And you know what was one of the things that's crazy is that hasn't he changed up the story a couple of times? Now he says that he wasn't there. He biked like 3 miles from it.
There's that. There's a bunch of like fucked up, just make no sense stories. There's a video of one of the teachers saying that the shooter, Ted Cruz, went in there with like full body armor.
Nikolai Cruz, not Ted Cruz. You just said the U.S. senator. God, he's really fallen off the wagon since he lost to Trump.
Ted Cruz is walking shoots up his goal.
I mean, he's really fallen off the wagon. First, he gets caught watching porn on Twitter, and then he ends up doing this. What the fuck?
So Nicholas Cruz was walking around in like full body armor and all this other nonsense. Like, look up the video of that. Like, look up teacher, I don't know, full body armor teacher shooter story or something like that. Something like that. I don't know. I don't know exactly how you put in words.
I'll put enough keywords and it'll come up, usually.
Yeah, I think that's the one right there.
Oh yeah, there it says. Well, actually, it says Parkland teacher says. I put in teacher Parkland shooting body armor, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, there's the video, I think.
There it is. It's got no audio yet.
Any minute now.
Any minute.
Chris, why don't we just turn the show into about conspiracy theories now? Let's start talking about conspiracy theories.
So, how did it end up? Oh, it's got no audio on that. Shoot.
Go to YouTube.
Yeah, I was like, I put up, literally the name of the website, Mega Pill. Or wait, this is, the YouTube. Before it gets pulled off the air. After that, we'll go back to our debate.
On February 14, 2018, South Florida majority Stone... Oh, fuck it.
During an interview with ABC's Good American Morning, aired February 21st, Lipple described what the gunman she saw looked like. Nailed it.
Yeah, you're better.
1 week ago, Valentine's Day, creative writing teacher Stacy Lapel's class was playing music, writing love letters, when the fire alarm went off. As students filed into the hallway, she heard gunfire. The killing had begun.
I was about 2 feet away from my door. All of a sudden, I heard gunshots in the stairwell, which is about 20 feet away from my room. And then kids were screaming and then running back towards me and towards the end of the hallway. So I just went in this very strange autopilot mode where I pivoted on my seat. I unlocked my door, and the kids just started pouring in my room. I don't know how many kids were in there, but I was pulling them and getting them in and shouting at them to get in the room. And then I suddenly saw the shooter about 20 feet from me, standing at the end of the hallway, actively shooting down the hallway, just a barrage of bullets. And I'm staring at him thinking, why is the police here? This is strange, because he's in full metal garb, helmet, face mask, bulletproof armor, shooting this rifle that I've never seen before. I don't know when I decided it was the right time to close the door. I grabbed the handle with both hands, and that's when I got nicked, or grazed, or whatever you call it.
A bullet hit your arm?
Yes. As I'm closing my door, I'm shouting at my next-door neighbor, Mr. Scott Beagle, to close his door. And he's the kind of man that would just keep that door open a little longer. You know, he's all about the kids, you know. But he couldn't see the shooter. I had a good visual of him, which is why I yelled at him to shut his door now. I heard him shoot a barrage of bullets into Mr. Beagle's room. And then he came to my room and shot about 4 or 5 shots into my room, breaking the glass of my door. There's a rectangular piece of glass. And I heard him continuously shooting down the hallway. And I never really knew when he left because we just thought he was still there. It was so quiet. And then all of a sudden I hear helicopters outside, far, far in the distance, it seemed to me. Police officers far, far in the distance. Kids were screaming in the hallway for help. We're trained not to let anybody in the room. And I would say a good 45 minutes went by, maybe an hour. And when we heard the SWAT team come on the floor, but I still didn't trust that it was them because they were banging on the doors. Police let us in. No one got up.
All right, so Yeah.
What a load of baloney.
Well, I don't know. What's the official story? Is the official story that been retracted about him coming with full body armor?
I believe so, yeah. I'm not sure. But all I know is that's one of the key witnesses, and that's what they're saying about this story. Which is a lot.
But yeah, that's the thing that doesn't match up. Didn't he get an Uber or something there, and like the Uber guy dropped El Goblino off?
Here, let's look up the actual story and let's see if that matched up with it.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure he took an Uber to the school, which I don't know how he could have done that with like having a full fucking assault rifle on him, unless he had that like in pieces and they like put it together in the bathroom or something.
Okay, so let's just talk about all the red flags before. Do you see this story? This little article here says that crazed girls flood Parkland shooter Nikolai Cruz with fan mail. So this nigga goes ahead and shoots up a school and gets
N-word alert.
I didn't say it was a hard ER.
Still N-word, dude.
Nigga.
Niggasaurus.
Rex.
Oi, give me the watermelon.
Oh, whoa.
Joke, everybody.
So this is a bad May. That's what's going on here. You know what? So, I think, let's see, you know, there's definitely been some inconsistencies with the story. And, it says, let's see, looking here. I'm trying to find where the original shooting was. I don't know, there's just a bunch of mainstream bullshit. You know, we're going to get back, you know, this makes me think of my next question. You know, maybe you can ask a couple questions, but we'll go back to our original debate. Is that...
Yeah, we should go back to that. We keep getting, like, lost.
So, communism versus fascism. Is that, aren't fascists, you know, in support of gun control and disarming the populations? Isn't that what Germany did pretty much to anyone that wasn't like a National Socialist Party member and wasn't, you know, Aryan and white? In a lot of fascist countries and the fascist countries in South America, that definitely happened in Guatemala when the fascist government took over there, the military took over, they took away the guns and 200,000 indigenous people were killed. While in communist countries they like to talk about all communist gun control, but in Cuba that's very dubious. There's no that's actually right now. You know, it's actually funny. The mainstream media is actually finally admitting that the gun control narrative about Cuba is false, and there was gun control in the '60s, but I believe they've gotten their guns back. Venezuela, that's 100% wrong. There's no gun control in Venezuela. Some felons and stuff got their guns taken away about 3 years ago. People that were in violent protests and stuff like that, but definitely not gun control. But that's not even communism; it's more just generic socialism. The only communist countries where really the gun control was instituted were the two, Mao's and Stalinism. But Stalinism is pretty much, if we're saying Hitler does not represent all fascism, Stalin doesn't represent all communists.
Of course not.
So Stalinism, under Stalin, you took away the guns for 16 years. That is true. China, same deal. They took away guns under Mao, and there was genocide. But that's not what happened in the majority of communist countries, to my knowledge, is that the guns were taken away. It seems that fascists seem to be more keen on gun control than communists.
It may not be the majority of communist countries, but they are the communist countries with the most majority of people.
Yeah, Russia. But and then if we're going with that same logic, it's not the majority of fascists, but it's the fascist countries with the most people, did those awful things. I mean, Germany and Japan.
Well, Japan wasn't fascist; they were imperialistic.
That's arguable to say that they're very similar. They believe the same kind of bullshit, like the Germans believe that they were like the superior race, and they, the same, very similar to Nazism. That's why they got along so well, partially. Yeah, they were very similar. I mean, they the same idea. Japan's an empire that needs to be restored. We're the superior race. We'll invade, surrounding territory. Don't care if it start wars. Like they did to China. They even committed their own genocide. You know, they killed like 10 million Chinese people over there. So in many ways, the Japanese are similar to Germany.
Not really, because like the terms are.
Because they're Asian. That's the only difference. It's really
the terms of why they did that are kind of different. Like Germany, it was pressured by a bunch of like foreign powers, and that's kind of what gave rise to Hitler. Japan, it was kind of similar. Like,
well, they had sanctions on them too, so that's.
They also had sanctions and stuff, and because they're an island nation, they were like low in resources. But I don't know. Japan and Germany, I wouldn't really see it as the same thing.
Well, what are the differences?
It's a cultural thing. I don't know really how to go into depth about it, but it's definitely a more cultural thing.
Okay, so let's go on to the next thing then. Is that did or did not, did you know that in Germany they implemented gun control measures?
Yeah, I knew that.
And so that's like one of the biggest things. Like, your government doesn't trust its people. Why why support an ideology like that? And I still talk about Hitler, but Hitler is the biggest fascist country ever to exist.
He's not a fascist. He's a national socialist.
Okay. Well, if it was that same logic, Stalin's not a communist. He's a Stalinist. He was his own thing. We're going by that same ideology, but we're going to look by the definition. Is that, let's see, there it is. Usually characterized as a form of fascism that incorporates scientific racism and anti-Semitism. Nazism was influenced by German nationalism, the Bolshevik movement, and the anti-communist Freikorps paramilitary groups that emerged during the Weimar Republic after Germany's defeat in the First World War. And so, right there, it's characterized as a form of fascism.
A form, but it's not fascism.
Well, it's like how Stalinism is a form of communism, but it's not all communism. So.
All right, fair enough, Chris.
Yeah, it's like Stalinism. Stalinism is not communism. It's a form of communism. So, boom.
Yeah, but you're also using Wikipedia, like a shill site.
Okay, we'll go to a non-shill site. What's your definition of a non-shill site that would have definitions? We'll just look it up on. We'll just look it up on the Encyclopedia Britannica. How about that? Even though that's probably not much better, we'll just use a different source, and to show you that it is fascism. So probably anything with Britain. I don't know if it's actually a British website, but they're probably going to be a little bit biased. It says here, this is what it says about fascism. And it includes the first fascist leader, Benito Mussolini, and it took the word from the Latin word fascist, which referred to a bundle of elm or birch rods. I thought it was a bundle of sticks because they were a bunch of faggots, but no, I'm kidding. It's a bad meme. You're supposed to. I thought we were gonna laugh at that one a little bit, but.
Oh, sorry, I'm like typing right now.
No, it was like because it said that the fascism took the word from fasces, which referred to a bundle of elm or birch rods, and I thought it was a bundle of sticks because there were a bunch of faggots, but.
Oh, yeah.
But no, and also, no offense to gay people whatsoever, like I said, we love y'all in a platonic way.
You fascist.
But you're a fascist here. I'm trying to school you on fascism. And okay, so it says here, it calls it a national fascism. It says the fascist parties and movements came to power in several countries between 1922 and 1945. The National Fascist Party of Italy, led by Mussolini. The National Socialist German Workers' Party, aka the Nazi Party, led by Adolf Hitler. So, yeah, it's fascism here. And look what else too. It says, let's see, and the military dictatorship of Admiral Tojo Hideki in Japan, also fascist.
All right.
And also some other ones, for example, in Spain under Francisco Franco.
I really want to consider like the Japs fascists because like
Romania, the Iron Guard.
They had like more of a feudal system.
And fascism did not. Or, I mean, fascism did not. I mean, it's kind of like
they didn't. They had more of like a republic voting style.
A republic voting style. Was there elections in Nazi Germany?
Yes, there were.
And who was even allowed to be on the ballot? You probably had to be a Nazi Party member to be on the ballot in Nazi Germany.
Well, they won over the party because they got popular.
Yeah, but if once they were in charge, was like, for example, was like, you know, some other party was like the Green Party or like or let's say the Constitution Party was allowed to run against the Nazis?
They wiped out that because democracy is kind of like a flawed system.
So you said that they had elections, but only one party was allowed to participate.
Well,
only the Nazis were allowed to participate.
Well, yeah, but okay. So how would it be better if you have a multiple party system? How is that any better? That just splits up the people. That makes people more confused and not really focus on the problem at hand.
Yeah, but shouldn't they have a choice on what kind of ideology rules the country, you know, compared to having one party decide it?
I mean, yes, but at the same time, like, that kind of is what is giving root to the problems that we have now. Like...
Yeah, but we have really one party, and it's the Wall Street Party that's controlling both Democrats and Republicans. I mean, there's no real difference between the parties.
Yeah, but the Democrats and the Republicans are the dividing factor, so the people don't see that.
True. I mean, and also, and I will point out, the communists do the same thing. They have elections in their countries with one party, which I kind of believe that in a way. It does make a better way sometimes, because think about it. I'm running for the Republican Party nomination for congressman here. I need to get the nomination of the Republican Party. So I have to pander to the party line. I have to be, all the Republican Party stances. I got to be pro-Israel. I got to be, I got to be against, or at least be critical maybe of gay marriage. I got to be, a bunch of different, all the different Republican Party tenets. I can't vary from that, because if I do, then I won't get the nomination. When people are not fighting for a party domination, they can kind of be themselves, and people will vote. It's like, oh, they're all the same party. I'm going to vote for them on their own merits, what they actually propose.
Yeah.
So it's like, in a way, having one party is almost like having no parties, in a way.
Yeah.
It's kind of, and the only thing different, I guess, is that these people have been kind of vetted to make sure that they're not, I guess, disruptive to society in general or the party rule, which that's where I kind of disagree on, but the idea that everyone's got to toe the state line, like what they do in communist or Nazi or like fascist countries. But I can see the argument that can be made compared to democracy as we believe it here in America, or even worse in Europe, where they have 7 parties and they all are a bunch of bullshit. They all pretty much support the same things, and they just divide people so much. It's like, oh no, I'm the Green Party. I'm of the left or Republican Party. No, I'm of the Democratic Socialist Party. Oh, I'm the libertarian chicks with dicks parties. It's like,
yeah, it just keeps going on, and then like if you choose one party, you're automatically like labeled as either far right or far left, because
yeah, it's like, you're a Republican. Oh, you must be a fascist. A white supremacist. Oh, you're a Democrat. You must be a commie liberal. It's like all this division it causes by this, the two-party system.
And that gets nothing done for the people. Because it's just pointless bickering, bureaucracy at that point, and nothing gets done. It's just pointless bickering.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I guess when it comes to but with fascism, what was actually done for the people in fascist countries that was for the better? I mean, give me some examples and this is as a whole. It can't be just what was good for, some people that they deemed as not as people they wanted. I'm talking about, for example, in Germany, they might have had some social programs, but you had to be white Aryan to enjoy them, probably.
No, not exactly. You just had to be more German. The whole like Aryan thing, that's like another. It's like a half myth kind of thing. Like, yeah, they did think they were top shit because they were Aryan, but they didn't want to go around genociding all the other races. They just simply wanted all the other races to be with their own race, because that's just kind of the natural order of things. Like, that's why white people are white, black people are black, Asians are Asians, etc., etc. Because we've all evolved differently based on our environment. But that doesn't mean we're inferior to one another because of these differences. Another thing is uniting the people based on culture and the way of life. That was another unlike communists, which like to they like to think they like to destroy the culture, like they did in China, and
yeah, but that's not the case with every single country that happened. I mean, in Cuba, they still have all their Cuban culture and heritage. It's not like it's been replaced by the monolithic communist culture, you know?
Well, I mean, Russia, the great founding father of all the communism, I guess you would say, they had the Bolshevik Revolution. That was like the great culture war of Russia, basically, and the Bolsheviks won it. So, I kind of lost track where I was going with that. Let's go to the next question. I lost track where I was just thinking.
Next question, okay. You know, I feel like I feel like I've asked almost all the questions here. I got 40 minutes left. Let's go. How about you ask me a couple questions?
All right.
You got anything for me? Or if not, I got some more for you. But.
Yeah, I had one from the last debate and I forgot it. Oh my god. Okay, so you keep going on the moral high ground about it, like how fascism is, how you probably see it as it's evil. Or what great things has communism made? Like, what great discoveries and inventions has communism made? Unlike, I would say, fascism and capitalism.
Well, I mean, if you're going by the great discoveries of communism, you could say our whole space travel, practically. The fact that the Soviets were the first into space by man. They had almost every first space, everything besides the moon, which probably was fake in itself, but it would say even if it was real, it's everything practically besides going to the moon. Like, there's actually a checklist of this. It's like Soviet accomplishments in space travel. And ultimately, they beat everybody to everything practically. Is that let's see, yeah, let's see if I can find the actual list. Here it is, and they were first pretty much to everything when it came to space. Let's see, actually, man, it's one of those Pinterest things. So it's like I was clicking on it and then it went away. I can barely read it, so I'll do it. USSR, our first into space was the satellite Sputnik 1, Sputnik 2. Which they actually put a small dog into space, Laika, put the first living thing into space only about a month after. Then America goes into space, and then they put another thing into space, Explorer 2. Or nope, doesn't even fail to reach orbit. I think Make Space doesn't fail to reach orbit. Vanguard 1 satellite, that's American. Sputnik 3 is launched. Pioneer 1 is launched at the height of 70,700 miles. And then Luna 1 is launched by the USSR. The first man-made object to orbit the sun on January 2nd, 1959. Says Pioneer 4 was launched on Earth-Moon trajectory. It passed within 37,000 miles of the moon before falling into a solar orbit. March 3rd, 59. Let's see. And the first ever thing to ever impact the moon, Luna 2, September 12th, 1959. Let's see. And Yuri Gagarin becomes the first person ever into space on April 12th, 1961. I believe they also put the first rover on the moon and everything. So if we go by that, it's a major accomplishment by the communists there. In Cuba, the elimination of the end of segregation was caused by the Cuban Revolution. Before, when it was a pro-American state, Fulgencio Batista had segregation against the darker peoples of the country, just like then. This is also in South America in general. Left-wing regimes led to the end of segregation and the policy of segregation. In Colombia, which is a pro-American state, they still have pretty much segregation to this day. So communism has led to the end of segregation in multiple different countries. You could say that it led to the end of, you could say the major industrialization and bringing the Soviet Union to theoretically a first world state. In China, what it is today speaks for itself. I know you could say that it's obviously the combination by putting a little bit of capitalism and keeping the communist and having communism and being a planned economy. Now they are the predominant economy in the world, and they are quickly they're just leaving us in the fucking dust. And people also talk about, they say, oh, they played a bad game. They said that they intentionally devalued their currency. It's their own currency. They can do whatever they want. Okay, next thing, we'll go to Vietnam. actually repelling the United States invasion, unlike what people in Europe couldn't do, aka Germany. Vietnam was actually able to successfully repel that invasion. If we go to some of the other things, the elimination of abstract poverty practically in China as we know it, the amount of peasants that went way down, and their middle class is now the size of the entire United States. Just their middle class alone is the size of the United States. You could say that also communism has led to the empowerment of women. In the Soviet Union, there was definitely an empowerment of women that did not exist before. And, I guess that's just a short list right there.
All right. On for the space travel thing, you also forgot to mention about the massive hijacking of German scientists that they stole. They did have their own scientists, but they did steal a lot of German scientists.
The Russians?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Russians. Just as Americans stole a lot of German scientists, like von Braun.
Yeah.
On for the China thing, I mean, I don't even know if I would consider them a true communist country anymore, because isn't China like a three-part nation? Like, there's Hong Kong, which is like...
Well, that's like Hong Kong's like their like special economic zone.
Yeah, and that's mostly like a super capitalistic area, and they kind of don't like the rest of mainland China, which there's also mainland China, and then there's what's that one section called?
Macau?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like what?
Well, China uses like I said, they use some capitalism. They have special economic zones where that's kept them, competitive. So, but they're still using the planned economy. From a communist perspective, they're still using a planned economy. They're planning things out. They're not letting the free market decide their future, and it's led to some very good things for their country. And so I'd say they're definitely. I don't know if you could consider them not a capitalist. I don't know if you consider them truly a capitalist country. And I don't know. But I think that's pretty. When it comes to, they're still using a planned economy. Culturally, they still are still supportive of all their communist history and whatnot. Mao's still on the bill, even though his history. I mean, I don't agree with it, but they still seem to be pretty appreciative of their communist past. So I mean, it seems to be,
But, another thing you failed to mention, the massive amount of pollution that is caused in the land of China. Like, most of their drinking water is, like, heavily polluted from all the factories. There's just heavy smog everywhere. How do you think that plays into the communistic part of it all?
Karl Marx said we have to hug trees in the Communist Manifesto? No. I mean, I support protecting the environment. But the thing is that it's not just because they're polluting, necessarily doesn't make them not a communist country.
Yeah, I know, but do you think that play a part into it?
I mean,
do you think
I think that the pollution and stuff like that could be worked out eventually, but their own merits probably outweigh that. The fact that they've, brought so many people out of poverty and improved their economy by such a big part. I mean, most of the big countries in the world pollute.
Yeah, but don't they pollute the most?
What's like total pollution per country? And it's probably going to be India. Have you ever seen that place?
India's filthy.
I mean, India's just gross. I don't mean like Indian people, but I'm just saying like your country, your infrastructure and everything is like gross and needs to be fixed. Let's see. So this is the chart right here. It says top 10 emitters
from 2011,
and it looks like when it comes to this is totals right here. So this is a few years ago, and China makes up over 20%. America make up less than America. You're right; they are the top polluters in the world. Looks like America's not too far behind. And but here's also another thing we should put in perspective: is that America makes up about 15% of the world's pollution, when they only have 5% of the world's population. China makes up about 20% of the world's population and has roughly about the same amount of pollution.
Mm-hmm.
So right there, doesn't that says something right there? And then the third, I think after that, they have purple showing that's the European Union, so that's multiple countries. India's actually kind of far behind. India actually, I'm sorry, your pollution is actually not that bad. It's only like 5% of the world's pollution.
All right, sorry, India. We didn't mean to, like, rag on you. Don't, I don't know, what do Indians do when they get pissed? Do they throw their towels at you?
Go Florida at white women and getting bobs and vagina.
Bob and vagina.
That's what they're gonna do in revenge. Like all of a sudden, like some of the girls that I talk to, they're gonna be like, "Why is this random Indian guy like sending me, asking me for bobs and vagina?" You're just gonna be like watching TV. It's like 12 at night. You hear a knock at the door. You turn on your light. You just see a small brown face and a strong smell of curries in the air. And all you hear is, "Hello, open door, I want to put bob and vagina." I just imagine that with like horror music behind it too.
I want to put my bob and vagina.
Dun dun dun. A story about an Indian man.
The lightning flashes, he disappears.
Yeah. Bro, that's.
You can hear a knock on the window, and like the lightning flashes again. His face is pressed against the window. Bob and vagina.
No, it's not just any Indian man too. It's Paclu Papito shows up.
Oh no, not him.
Yes.
Oh no.
Paclu Papito's not even. That's the thing. He's gonna just show up and disappear because he doesn't exist in this dimension. He exists only in the meme dimension.
He's truly a man, a true wizard.
Exactly.
A modern wizard that can warp reality as is.
So. And also, yeah, and there's different charts on this. It looks like let's go to another one just so we get, a little bit. This is back, I think, got 2011 again. It says China uses up 27% of the world's energy. The United States uses up 17% of the world's energy. Russia and India are tied at 5. So that's kind of crazy that India is not that big of a user of energy. But their infrastructure does suck. Like we'll just pull up a picture for you to show just to remind you what India. How much of a mess their infrastructure is. Really outdated and looks like it's pretty disastrous. This is India for you. It looks like spider webs. There's the power lines.
Oh no, India! What are you doing?
Look at all this stuff.
What are you doing, India?
It's not supposed to look like there's big giant spiders living there. They're putting big spider webs. They're supposed to have it somewhat orderly. But that's, some of these actually look kind of normal. It's kind of like, but, India's actually going to surpass China soon for the world's population. They're going to be number 1 soon.
Oh, boy. Do you think India and China will ever have a war with each other?
Could, but I think it's more likely China and Japan go to war with each other.
Yeah, I see it.
Because they have disputed islands that they both claim, and, Watch China and Japan goes to war. Watch all the weeboos in the United States be like, I'm gonna go fight against evil China with my Naruto swords.
They all just fly over to Japan and I just imagine a Japanese old man walking down Tokyo. The streets are quiet and all of a sudden he feels a rumbling. He thinks it's an earthquake, but around the corner 1,000 weeaboos. All running with their arms, Naruto style, at him, charging by the thousands, screaming Edzo Banzai towards the Chinese hordes.
Japanese guys oh my god.
More like the Chinese guys.
Well, with the Chinese guys, they're gonna be scared by a bunch of weeboos.
Yeah, wouldn't you? You're a machine gunner. You're looking down the valley, and you just see 1 million Naruto runners coming at you. Wouldn't you be terrified?
No, because I got a fucking machine gun.
Well, they all have explosives strapped onto them.
Well, how the fuck did they get explosives now?
Because they're bonsai chargers.
Oh, true. Oh yeah, the Japanese. They're gonna be pretty much what's the
They have a katana sword. They have the Naruto headband. Their suicide bomb vest.
What was the name that? Yeah, like what the. How can I not think of it? The airplanes, the people that flew their airplanes
kamikazes.
Kamikazes. They'll be like that, but land version.
Yeah.
Land out kamikazes, and they're probably no. Yeah, you know what? That would be a little bit scary. True. Plus a bunch of people that, but you know what? They're all probably really fat and filled up with Doritos. They're probably gonna take forever to get to me before I'm
Yeah, the fatty ones. They're supposed to take all the bullets. They get the fat ones to run first, and the other ones slow. They're like tanks, basically.
Okay, true, fair enough. But also, here's another thing: as many as they are, China's got a fucking load of people. So it's not just me up there, like one lone machine gunner. You know how big the Chinese military is? Like,
it's huge.
It's Chinese military total size. I forget how big it is. Plus, they might have the North Koreans on their side, and they got big ass military.
But it's outdated as fuck.
Well, yeah, but the Chinese can give them some stuff. And they got 2 million active. They got 2 million active soldiers, which is a lot. But you know what's funny? It's actually not that big of a percentage, really, when you think about it. It's only 2 million out of 1.7. It's only like they only got like 0.1% of their people in the military. That's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
That'd be like the equivalent of America's military only being 30,000 people or 300,000 people. Sorry, but that's still would be tiny. Our military is like what? We got America's military. I think it's like up like around 1 million or something.
I think it's like 700,000 to like 1,500,000.
And we got 1/5 of their population, so it's like they're total. We actually got more. We got 1,281 million currently. That's quite a bit. And then we have 811,000 active. I think they said they had like over 2 million reserves. Still, and they actually have the third biggest ranked military. I think China, North Korea technically has like the biggest, but it's like, can we really take a military? Are we really going to take a military seriously when 1/3 of your population is the military? So you're telling me like, every single 18 to 45-year-old male is in good enough shape to go fight a war, or is it just going to be like a bunch of people who are like, they're not ready to go to war whatsoever? I mean, the whole idea also about that, like that North Korea is going to we're going to start a war with North Korea. I don't know about that.
I doubt we would ever will.
I feel like it's stupid because it's like North Korea would get fucked eventually. But the thing is, in the process, South Korea would get fucked with all the nukes hitting them, and Japan would probably get fucked. Like Tokyo would be Ganyo, It'd be.
It's a gamble that I don't like. It's too big of a gamble.
I don't think that's gonna happen. But I think we'll go to war with Iran. I think that will happen soon.
I see that definitely, especially with all the Syria nonsense going on right now.
I mean, well, and also that John Bolton guy, a.k.a. Scary Ned Flanders, is, he wants to, he's been wanting to go to war with Iran for a long time, but by the way, I call him Scary Ned Flanders because I'll pull up the picture of him for you. That's, I mean, doesn't he look like an older version of Ned Flanders?
He does.
Okay, diddly do, neighbor, we're gonna go to war with Iran.
Bomb, 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 Iran. Bomb, 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 Iran, bomb, Iran. That's what I am gonna do.
Oh yeah, even comes up with the search result. Let's see if it gives us a side by side.
Yeah, there it is.
It's like uncanny right there.
He does look like old Ned Flanders. When The Simpsons become real.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, we already got him. Well, I mean, you know who Mr. Burns is probably based off of, right?
Who?
I'll pull up the picture so you can see it, and I'll say when we have to pull up the picture. But come on, isn't it like kind of obvious that it's like I don't know. To me, it looks like so. I mean, but the hair did the same way. It's got they're exaggerating some of his features of how ugly he is, but Jacob Rothschild.
Yeah, I see it.
But it's kind of funny how no one knows who Jacob Rothschild is, considering how powerful. I mean, it makes sense, but considering how powerful the fucking guy is. Like,
well, I mean, it's the diversion tactic, as I mentioned before. Like, they like to split up all the parties. They like to just make sure that the main population is as confused as possible. That's why you see all these like crazy don't you think it's kind of weird how that school shooting happened right around the time of all the indictment stuff happening and the Pizzagate thing being mentioned? You know what Pizzagate is, right?
Yeah, he told me about it.
Yeah, how about how most of the politicians and Hollywood directors and kid diddlers and child traffickers.
That kind of thing, yeah.
And then all of a sudden the school shooting happens, and now all of a sudden the media is like, don't look at this, look at this.
But was it actually which indictment was actually happening?
It was. Well, I can't. I have to look it up. Man, I wish I had my old phone because I had it saved on it. Let me.
Because I think there was the one where I don't know. That's the thing is that. Yeah, I mean, the only problem is that there seems to be some fake news about that, because I've seen like articles trying to say like Trump is like majorly crack down on human trafficking and stuff like that, and on child trafficking specifically. But but then it turns out that was very dubious information and probably not even true, because it's like it wasn't confirmed by anybody. Right? I remember saying that he cracked down on thousands of child traffickers or something like that, but then it actually turns out that was a real story. So the only problem with that is that there's not a lot of, it's like, I have to see where that story came from. Now, who was it that recently, wasn't there somebody recently that got, they found, I know that there's, in England there's been some stuff.
Yeah, there's that too.
And, there was a top politician or something like that got accused or something like that, but, yeah, Theresa May looks like a fucking lizard, to be honest, and it wouldn't surprise me if she was involved in something like that. I think just what, I mean, it wasn't even, I think it's not even like, that was not even like that far of out the news that was covering that. That was like mainstream news almost, that was like covering that. And I think it was actually like mainstream, I think the Telegraph covered it. And, before I get to, we're actually almost at the end of the show. We've got about 15 minutes left. So let's go. I'm going to ask you one more question about this communism versus fascism. Is that, is that when it comes to fascism, is that, do you think that a lot of people that were in the history textbooks, for example, Franco, and that later on became American allies that just, did the plans of the CIA, because there's a lot of people that were fascists, like Pinochet, at least have been labeled that, Marcos, that kind of thing. Do you think that they were necessarily actually fascist, or do you think that there was something else if they were collaborating with the CIA in the name of anti-communism?
If they were collaborating with the CIA, I'd say they were something else, because as I said, the fascists, they were just as much as enemies to the capitalists, us, the Americans, as they were enemies to the communists, because I
know, they said they were both Jewish ideologies.
Well, I mean, that's what the National Socialists say. The fascists, they like to call him the international banker. I mean, the Nazis just like to point out that they're Jewish, and then they throw out the anti-Jew card.
Yeah, I know, like Mussolini, just like they were saying, it's like the international banker, they're Jewish. Hitler's over there in the background. It's like, okay, can I let me finish my speech? Mm-hmm. It's like, the international banker, Jewish. It's like, can I fucking finish?
Like, as I said, that's why...
Just there with like a button. It's like, Jew.
Because, fascists and National Socialists, they don't really like each other that much. Like, they agree with one another because the ideologies are very similar, but once it gets a little... Once it gets to the race part, it gets kind of iffy, because the National Socialists, they like to, they'll shit on their own allies because they're not 100% Aryan or Bavarian or German or blah blah blah, and at the same time, while they're shitting on that, they're constantly claiming that they're so superior and they're so much better, and then they can't answer for their own faults, and it's just a mess. While the fascists, their main point is listen, we're all mutts in the world, but we all have our own identity and we all have our own culture. So let's try to preserve that as much as we can. And I mean, I guess the National Socialists, they make that same argument too. But as I said, once it gets into the racial aspect.
Okay, so, but you're saying that, but we went over this. That Italy definitely. Actually, we didn't go over this, but Italy didn't do this idea of just, it's like, let's say, let's preserve our own culture, because they imposed their culture on Northern Africa and Africa during the 1930s, and they wouldn't let them just have their own sovereignty. This is way before the resources became a problem. This is way before the war actually started. So, they could have said that, but they definitely didn't follow through. And also saying, well, I'm going to go down the last very last thing, and because we're not where we usually are.
Well, I mean, yeah, we are talking about Mussolini, but I'm also thinking of Oswald Mosley.
But we don't even know what he would have done, to be honest, because he never even got the power.
Exactly, but he's my idea of what a good man would have been. Okay,
so let's go on to the next thing. Let's go on to the last thing, and because we're not low tide, we'll debate this a little bit. Is that you guys, in the same breath, you guys say that the Holodomor was definitely real. The Soviets definitely killed all those Ukrainians, but the Holocaust, oh no, that wasn't real. That was just a bad meme, That was.
No, it's not that it wasn't real. We say it's largely what's the word?
Exaggerated.
Exaggerated.
Okay.
Because I mean, as I made the arguments before, when you have a war going on and you have all these mostly political prisoners from the Weimar Republic era, because they caught all those like filthy commie people running amok, shooting at just the hooligans, the barbarians and stuff that were running amok during the Weimar Republic era, and enemies of war and whatnot. And then you're fighting a two-front war. You're being bombed by America, Russia, Britain. You can't really feed your own troops. So now you got all these prisoners. And if you can't feed your own troops, what makes you think you're going to feed the prisoners? Well, you can't feed the prisoners. So then they start starving, and you can't get medical supplies to them either. So disease starts spreading. So they just kind of start dying. And then lice becomes a thing, and then typhus gets spreaded by that lice. So they gotta gas the clothes. But, I mean, like, are there any images of dead Jews in gas chambers?
No, but there's a bunch of them of them outside the gas chambers.
Yeah, like in a ditch, right, usually?
Yeah, but there's definitely the numbers, there's definitely, I mean, I don't know, there's no way to count up, like, oh, there's 5 million, but, that's the thing is that...
But my question is there any photographs of dead Jews in gas chambers?
None that I know of.
Okay, so how is there proof that they've been gassed to death? If there's no photos of them...
Well, I mean, Zyklon B could be used as a tool to kill people, I believe. I mean, it's pretty much like insect. I mean,
it can be, but the process to gas people with Zyklon B takes too long.
Yeah, but, just because it's, like, not practical, sometimes, governments and stuff use impractical means to execute people for different reasons. For example, like, like the electric chair, what's the point of that, And it's just barely to torture the person. I guess that's the point of the Zyklon B.
Well, I mean, those are two different things. Mm-hmm. The electric chair is meant for people who have done horrible, horrible things. While Zyklon
But I'm saying is that it's not, we're talking about practicality of execution.
Well, yeah, because the stories that, like, if you look up any Holocaust story, they're like, oh, and we were gassed by the minutes. Every minute they just threw a Jew in the chambers and they gassed us. It was horrible, blah, blah, blah. But the Zyklon process itself took nearly a day to complete because it was, a deadly chemical.
Well, I mean,
like, it's not just the Jews that were going to be at risk of getting killed from that stuff. It was the Germans, too. They had to wear very specialized clothing to...
Well, they also like to experiment. I mean, we had, like, Joseph Mengele who liked to just, do human experiments. Wasn't Zyklon B maybe another human experiment?
That's true, but, I mean, as I said, there's no photographs of dead Jews or dead people in general.
Well, they would have already been probably taken out the chamber by the time the Allies got there.
Yeah, but do you really think so? Like, if they're in that much of a rush, do you really think they're going to try to hide all their...
Well, they can't just leave them in the chamber for them to decompose. They got to get rid of them.
Yeah, but if they're on the run, why would they care? Why would they care about their dead prisoners if they're in full retreat mode?
Well, I mean, I don't know. They might not have been in the middle of the movie in the process of killing anybody that moment when they all retreated. That's the thing.
Well, yeah. Okay. When they discovered the camps, they found all the prisoners and stuff starving and still in their like little quarters and stuff. But they supposedly found all the bodies in the ovens, even though there's no bodies in the ovens. Were there bodies in the ovens? Are there any images of that? Dead bodies in the ovens?
I don't believe so.
Are there any... What's another common story about about the Holocaust?
Well,
Besides them being
I know they
gassed
debunked the whole Jew lampshade thing, that they made lampshades out of Jews or whatever.
and soap.
Yeah, which, you know, I actually had this debate on with another guy that used to be on UCY, that's our network. I did a debate on that, and then, yeah, he kind of, you know...
And why does Auschwitz have a swimming pool and a movie theater?
Was there actually this stuff? I mean, can you give me 100% undeniable proof that Auschwitz had all this stuff?
Yeah, look it up.
Let's see. Well, let's go to a HolocaustControversies.com, which might not be true, but let's see. It says... It says, let's see here, the economy. I'm trying to pinpoint where they're actually, you know, say...
Apparently in the pool they made Jews swim to their deaths.
Is that what it said there?
Apparently. Well, I mean, that's like one of the stories for the why they had a pool.
I mean, let's see. And let's see. I mean, there's a photo of it, but was it actually for the Jews or was it for like the guards and stuff? I mean, you know, it's not like, you know, jail guards have to deal with the same conditions as the prisoners. I mean, it's like...
Yeah, but do jail guards have a pool?
I don't know. They probably got a free... They might have a kick-ass break room or something. Maybe maybe an arcade or something like that. And I don't know what a jail guard has. I never worked in a prison. But... And
the chimney in Auschwitz, I know that was built after the war.
Well, what's the proof that was built after the war?
Well, give it a Google. Google Auschwitz chimney built after war.
Probably would come up and just put chimney.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh wait, don't go to Reddit. That's cringy. But let's see. Stream.
Go to images.
I know it says it shows it not connected to the building, but
okay.
They might tore down part of the building.
See, this is the original photo here, right?
Something weird. Let's see. So yeah, I'm guessing that's the original photo.
And then
this is later.
Why is that there? That's not there now, and now it's there.
Let's see. They hid it for 2 years.
Yeah, they hid it for 2 years.
They put their evil Nazi cloaking device on it. I don't know. That's I mean, they might have done, you know, just because they put some stuff to make, you know.
But they built that after the war, though.
Yeah, but just because they did that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. You know, it's just like they might add some stuff to make some more dramatic effect later.
Yeah, that's my point. It's supposed to be exaggerated to carry out the narrative.
Yeah, but just because how does that disprove that the numbers are, you know, different? How does that say that, you know, how does that disprove that there's 6 million died?
You just said it itself that the point of that building was to exaggerate it.
Yeah, but I'm not saying exaggerate numbers. It just might be, you know, it's kind of like...
To exaggerate the story. But if that never happened, if that building was never there to begin with, why would they build that? Just to exaggerate a story. That's literally lying. It's lying to people. It's lying to people,
yeah, true. It's lying to people, but, you know, are they lying about the numbers or just lying that chimney was there? That doesn't really have anything connected to anything else, you know?
Well, yeah, because those are the supposed ovens where all the Jews got burned up and died.
It's not the supposed... Is it the only chimney, though? I mean, is there...
I mean, I'm assuming, right?
I mean...
It looks like it.
I think there's another picture here and showing a bunch of chimneys.
Where's that one at? That's in Abwehr... I don't even know if that's in Auschwitz. I think that's a different camp.
I think it's just some... I don't know. It says... Let's see. I think... no, I think it's just somebody... That's something totally different. Let's see. So... I'm trying to... See, here they show two... This is where they show two chimneys there.
But that's not Auschwitz. That's Kremlin 4 and 5.
No, I think that's the name of the chimneys. Yeah, see, it says right there, gas chambers Auschwitz. Kremlin 4 and 5 are the name of the chimneys.
Okay.
So this is not the only chimney there. So, I mean, it's like, that doesn't necessarily disprove that 6 million died. It just says that they built that chimney maybe to add more...
I'm not
90 seconds.
More theatrics later.
I'm not saying... Shut up, you microphone. I'm not saying that the 6 million didn't die, or like the Jews never died or anything.
But so you're saying that so that's the thing, is that's why I thought you were arguing earlier, is that 6 million, it wasn't actually 6.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the numbers are widely exaggerated.